Success, it's a word we hear every day. It's a destination, a goal, a dream we're all chasing. But here's the truth. Success doesn't just happen. It's not something you stumble upon. It's something you design. It starts in one place. Your mind. What if I told you that the greatest tool you have is your ability to influence your own thoughts? That the difference between where you are and where you want to be isn't talent, luck, or opportunity. It's your mindset. That's right, the stories you tell yourself, the beliefs you nurture, the habits you repeat, they are either your prison or your passport. Today, I want to share with you 5 powerful ways to brainwash yourself for success. Not in the way the world misuses that word, but in the way that empowers you to overwrite the doubts, the fears, and the noise, and replace them with clarity, confidence, and unstoppable momentum. Because when you learn to reprogram your mind with purpose, you don't just change what you do, you change who you become. Rewiring your inner dialogue with positive affirmations is not just about saying nice things to yourself. It's about reshaping the entire narrative of your mind. Every day, your brain is running a constant loop of thoughts. Some of those thoughts are empowering, but many are limiting, fear-based, and self-defeating. The problem is, most of the time, we're not even aware of them. That voice that tells you you're not good enough, not smart enough, not ready yet, that's the voice that needs to be reprogrammed. And that's exactly what positive affirmations are designed to do. They are the language of belief, the tool to counter negativity, and the fuel for self-transformation. The first step is awareness. You can't change what you don't recognize. Start paying attention to how you speak to yourself, especially in moments of stress, failure, or uncertainty. Do you immediately criticize yourself? Do you expect the worst? Do you compare yourself to others and feel inferior? These internal patterns are not just thoughts. They are deeply rooted belief systems, and unless you interrupt them, they will continue to run your life on autopilot. Once you become aware of those negative patterns, you can begin to rewrite them intentionally. This is where positive affirmations come in. But not just any affirmations, ones that are specific, emotionally charged, and repeated consistently. Saying, "I am successful," once in the mirror doesn't change much. But repeating it every day with conviction, while visualizing what success looks like for you, that asterisk starts to create new neural pathways in your brain. Your mind begins to accept what you consistently tell it. That's not magic, it's science. Neuroplasticity proves that the brain is constantly rewiring based on repeated thought and experience. It's important to understand that affirmations are not about lying to yourself. They are about choosing to focus on who you are becoming rather than who you fear you are. If you struggle with confidence, saying, "I am confident in every room I walk into," is not a lie. It's a declaration of who you're training yourself to be. You are installing a new belief system, and the more you repeat it, especially during times when your confidence is low, the more your brain begins to treat it as truth. Timing is everything. The best moments to use affirmations are when your mind is most open early in the morning when you wake up, and late at night before you fall asleep. These are the times when your subconscious mind is most receptive, but don't stop there. Use them throughout your day. Before a big meeting, after a failure, when you're feeling anxious, think of affirmations as mental armor. You're not pretending the challenges aren't real. You're choosing to face them with a different mindset. Another powerful way to amplify affirmations is to pair them with movement. Speak them while walking, working out, or standing tall with good posture. The physical act reinforces the mental message. It creates a full body experience that makes the affirmation more believable. You're teaching your body and your brain to align with the new identity you're creating. Consistency is key. You don't brush your teeth once and expect a lifetime of clean teeth. In the same way, you don't affirm success once and expect lifelong confidence. This is a daily practice. Some days it will feel powerful, Other days it might feel forced, but keep going. Over time, those words will take root. They will replace the toxic inner critic with an inner coach. They will help you show up differently in conversations, in challenges, in your goals. The language you speak to yourself becomes the lens through which you view the world. When you say, "I can handle this," you approach problems with resilience. When you say, "I deserve to be here," you stop shrinking in rooms meant for your growth. When you say, "I am unstoppable," you begin to take actions that reflect that belief. You can't control every thought that enters your mind, but you can choose which ones stay. Affirmations are a conscious act of choosing to believe in your ability, choosing to speak life into your dreams, choosing to condition your mind for success instead of surrendering it to fear. Rewiring your inner dialogue isn't an overnight fix. It's a process, a daily decision, a habit of greatness, but once your mind believes it, your life will begin to reflect it. The outer world always bends to the inner story, and the story you tell yourself through affirmations is the foundation for the success you will create. Visualizing success daily until it feels real is not just a motivational technique. It's a scientific method of mental conditioning that the world's highest achievers use to bridge the gap between imagination and reality. Your brain is an incredibly powerful tool, and one of its most remarkable features is that it doesn't fully distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is actually experienced. That means when you consistently visualize your success, your brain begins to accept it as familiar, as attainable, and eventually as expected. Think about athletes before a big performance. They don't just train their bodies, they train their minds. They see themselves making the winning shot, crossing the finish line, holding the trophy, and they don't just see it. They feel it. The heartbeat, the sweat, the roar of the crowd, the rush of emotion. Why? Because when you involve emotion in your visualization, it anchors that image deeper into your subconscious. It becomes more than just a dream. It becomes a mental rehearsal for reality. The same principle applies to you. If you want to really succeed, you have to start seeing yourself as the person who already has. Not from a place of delusion, but from a place of preparation. Visualization is a rehearsal of belief. It's an internal simulation that conditions your mind to accept success as your new normal. It creates mental familiarity with what's coming so that when the opportunity arises, your mind says, "I've been here before. I know how this feels." To make visualization effective, you must be intentional. Set aside a specific time each day, ideally first thing in the morning or right before sleep, when your mind is more receptive. Close your eyes and imagine your goals in crystal, clear detail. If your goal is to give a powerful speech, see yourself on stage. Feel the confidence in your voice, imagine the applause, sense the pride in your heart, hear the exact words you want to say. The more vivid and specific you are, the more powerful the effect. It's also important to visualize the process, not just the outcome. Too many people focus only on the end result, like driving the dream car, having the $1 million business, or receiving the award. While that's helpful, it's even more powerful to visualize the work that leads there. Picture yourself waking up early, staying focused, being disciplined, overcoming setbacks, and staying resilient. This not only motivates you, it conditions your mind to associate effort with success. You're training yourself to fall in love with the journey, not just the destination. One reason visualization works is because it activates the reticular activating system, RAS, in your brain. This is your brain's filter that determines what information gets your attention. When you visualize success consistently, your RAS starts to notice the opportunities, connections, and resources that align with your vision. It's like tuning your mental frequency to the station of success, so everything around you starts to support that goal. You become more aware of ideas, more open to growth, and more confident in your actions. Some people struggle with visualization because they say they can't see pictures in their mind. That's okay. Visualization isn't just about seeing, it's about experiencing. Use all your senses. What do you hear, feel, smell, and taste in your ideal future? If you can't see the image clearly, describe it in words, journal it out, speak it aloud. The goal is to create a vivid internal experience that resonates emotionally. That emotional charge is what convinces your subconscious that it's real. When you visualize success every day, you start behaving differently. You begin to walk with more confidence, speak with more clarity, and make decisions from a place of certainty. You no longer act like someone hoping for success. You start acting like someone expecting it, and that shift in identity is the key to transformation. Because the actions of a successful person are very different from the actions of someone waiting to succeed. Visualization gives you that identity before you see the results. It allows you to lead your life from your future, not your past. Remember, your mind is always visualizing something. If you don't direct it towards success, it will default to fear, doubt, and limitation. That's why visualization must be intentional. It's not a one-time exercise, it's a daily ritual of mental leadership. You're training your brain to see what's possible, to feel it in advance, and to respond as if it's already happening. The world doesn't just respond to what you want, it responds to who you believe you are. And when your mind is filled with the images, emotions, and energy of success, you begin to move in alignment with that belief. Doors open, confidence rises, and slowly but surely, the life you've been visualizing becomes the life you are living. Eliminating negative influences from your environment is one of the most powerful and often overlooked steps in the journey towards success. People tend to think of success as something that's built solely through internal strength, willpower, discipline, ambition. And while those traits matter, they can be easily sabotaged by the environment you place yourself in every day. Your surroundings, including the people you interact with, the media you consume, and even the spaces you inhabit, all shape your mindset more than you may realize. The truth is, no matter how strong your mindset is, if you constantly feed it negativity, you're slowly poisoning your progress. Start by taking a deep inventory of what and who you allow into your mental space. Every conversation, every social media scroll, every comment you absorb either uplifts you or drags you down. If you're constantly around people who complain, gossip, or dismiss your ambitions, their energy starts to influence your thoughts. Their fears become your hesitations, their limitations start to feel like your boundaries. And over time, you begin to shrink not because you've changed, but because your environment convinced you to. This is why successful people are ruthless about their environment. They know that if they want to grow, they have to protect their mindset like it's sacred. That means cutting ties, or at the very least, creating distance, from people who drain their energy or keep them stuck in old patterns. It doesn't mean you have to hate those people. It just means you're choosing to prioritize your future over familiar negativity. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick, and you cannot rise while staying loyal to people or situations that keep you small. But it's not just people. Look at the media you consume. What you watch, read, and listen to every day programs your brain just as powerfully as the words you say. If your daily routine includes scrolling through outrage, filled news, mindless entertainment, or comparison, heavy social media, you're feeding your brain with anxiety, fear, and inadequacy. That emotional diet becomes your mental state, You start to operate from a place of stress and scarcity instead of possibility and focus. That's why it's critical to be intentional with your information intake. Feed your mind with content that educates, inspires, and challenges you to grow. Make it a habit to consume books, podcasts, and videos that reinforce the mindset you want to embody. Your physical space matters too. Cluttered environments often lead to cluttered minds. If your workspace, home, or even digital space is chaotic and unorganized, it creates subtle stress that distracts your focus and drains your energy. On the other hand, a clean, organized, and intentional space signals to your brain that you're in control, that you're serious, that you're ready. Create an environment that supports your goals, even in small ways. Put reminders of your dreams where you can see them. Surround yourself with visuals, quotes, or objects that spark motivation. Design your space for the person you're becoming, not the person you were. Now, removing negative influences doesn't mean avoiding all discomfort. Growth requires challenge. It means choosing influences that push you to be better, not ones that pull you backward. Surround yourself with people who think bigger, dream louder, and challenge your excuses. Spend time in places that spark creativity, not complacency. Choose conversations that stretch your perspective, not shrink your ambition. Success is contagious, but so is mediocrity. Make sure you're catching the right virus. It's also important to do this without guilt. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. You don't need to justify creating boundaries. Your future doesn't depend on keeping everyone comfortable. It depends on keeping yourself aligned. It may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been surrounded by certain people or habits for a long time. But remember, you're not abandoning them. You're choosing to elevate, and when you elevate, you give others permission to do the same. Over time, as you remove negative influences, you create space for the positive ones to enter. You begin attracting better people, better conversations, and better opportunities. Your energy becomes lighter, your focus sharpens, your self-belief strengthens. You no longer feel weighed down by the doubts or dramas of others. Instead, you begin to feel driven, clear, and unstoppable. The environment you create around you becomes a mirror of the life you're building. And if you want to build something powerful, something meaningful, something extraordinary, then every part of your world must reflect that. Don't underestimate this. Your environment is either your anchor or your wings. Choose the one that lets you fly. Creating rituals that reinforce discipline and purpose is a foundational element in the pursuit of success. While motivation can spark action, it is discipline that sustains it, and rituals are the bridge between the two. A ritual is more than just a routine. It is a deliberate, meaningful practice that aligns your actions with your values and long-term goals. It removes the randomness from your day and replaces it with structure, consistency, and clarity. The most successful people in the world don't just rely on willpower. They rely on rituals that condition them to show up even when they don't feel like it. Discipline begins where comfort ends, and that's exactly why rituals are so powerful. When something becomes a ritual, it bypasses the emotional negotiation we normally have with ourselves. There's no debate, no delay, no procrastination. It becomes automatic. Wake up, journal, sit down, do the work. End the day, reflect. These small, seemingly ordinary actions become extraordinary over time because of their consistency. You're not just repeating behavior. You're reinforcing identity. Every time you follow through on a ritual, you're telling yourself, "This is who I am. I am disciplined. I am focused. I am in control." The key to building powerful rituals is to start with intention. Don't create rituals just for the sake of routine. Build them around your purpose. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to become? What habits does that person practice daily? What mindset do they maintain? What actions do they repeat? Your answers to these questions become the blueprint for your rituals. For example, if your goal is to become a successful entrepreneur, your rituals might include reading about business strategy every morning, reviewing your goals at the start of each work session, or dedicating time each evening to learning from failures and planning the next move. Morning rituals in particular are incredibly powerful. The first hour of your day sets the tone for everything that follows. If you wake up late, check your phone immediately, scroll aimlessly, and rush into the day, you're starting from a place of reaction and chaos. But if you begin your day with intention, a moment of silence, gratitude, exercise, journaling, or planning, you take control of your mindset and energy. You send a clear message to yourself and the universe. I am leading my day, not being led by it. That mindset shift is subtle, but it compounds massively over time. Evening rituals are just as important. They provide closure to the day, allow for reflection, and prepare your mind for rest and recovery. Taking a few minutes before bed to review your wins, acknowledge your efforts, and set intentions for tomorrow can create a sense of momentum. You go to sleep with purpose, and you wake up with direction. This cycle strengthens your discipline because you're living each day with clarity instead of drifting aimlessly. One of the most misunderstood aspects of discipline is that it doesn't mean doing everything perfectly every time. Discipline means you keep showing up no matter what. That's where rituals come in. They are your anchor when motivation fades, your compass when life gets chaotic. When you build rituals around key areas of your life, health, work, relationships, mindset, you create a system that keeps you aligned even during tough times. You're no longer relying on inspiration to take action, you're relying on structure. Another important benefit of rituals is that they reduce decision fatigue. Every day, you make hundreds of decisions, and the more choices you make, the more drained your willpower becomes. Rituals eliminate that problem. They automate the important stuff so you don't waste energy deciding what to do next. You already know, you've pre-decided. That mental clarity gives you more space to be creative, solve problems, and pursue your goals with intensity. To make rituals sustainable, start small. Don't try to change everything at once. Begin with one meaningful habit and tie it to something you already do. For instance, right after brushing your teeth, you might meditate for 5 minutes. After your morning coffee, you might write down 3 goals. Consistency beats intensity. What matters is that you keep showing up. Over time, these small rituals add up. They begin to shape how you think, how you act, and ultimately who you become. Success doesn't come from doing one big thing once. It comes from doing the small right things over and over until they become part of you. Your rituals become your rhythm. Your rhythm becomes your lifestyle, and your lifestyle becomes the path to your highest potential. Surrounding yourself with high, achieving mindsets is one of the most transformative strategies you can use to rewire your brain for success. Human beings are wired for connection, and whether we realize it or not, we absorb the energy, beliefs, behaviors, and expectations of the people around us. That's why your environment is not just a background setting. It's a powerful force that either pulls you upward or holds you back. You can have the best goals, the strongest drive, and the most detailed plan, but if you are consistently exposed to small thinking, low energy, and negativity, your mind will struggle to thrive. High-achieving individuals operate with a different frequency. They think big, they act with urgency, and they hold themselves to high standards. When you spend time around people like that, their mindset begins to influence yours. It's not just about copying their habits. It's about catching their energy, adopting their beliefs, and elevating your own standards. Success becomes normalized, growth becomes expected, discipline becomes a way of life. That's the power of proximity. Think about your current circle. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? What do they talk about? What do they value? How do they handle adversity? Are they moving forward or staying stuck? You don't need to judge or look down on anyone, but you do need to be honest. If you're the most driven, most focused, or most ambitious person in your group, you're in the wrong group. You grow fastest when you're slightly uncomfortable, when you're surrounded by people who are ahead of you in mindset, skill set, or achievement. They force you to rise, not through competition, but through inspiration. One of the greatest benefits of high-achieving mindsets is their refusal to tolerate excuses. They won't let you play small because they don't play small themselves. They challenge your thinking. They hold you accountable. They ask you better questions, and that pressure, although it might feel uncomfortable at times, is what sharpens you. It's the friction that creates focus. It's the tension that builds strength. Without that challenge, it's easy to slip into mediocrity, comfort, and delay. Sometimes, people assume that being around high achievers will make them feel intimidated or unworthy. That only happens when you're comparing instead of learning. The goal isn't to mimic someone else's journey. It's to study their mindset and apply what resonates with your path. Success leaves clues. High achievers are living, breathing case studies of what's possible. When you ask them the right questions, observe their patterns, and adopt their principles, you accelerate your own growth without having to make all the same mistakes. In today's world, proximity isn't limited to physical presence. You can surround yourself with high-achieving mindsets virtually. Read their books, watch their interviews, follow their content, join their communities, hire coaches. Attend seminars, immerse yourself in their world. The more you expose your brain to excellence, the more it begins to accept it as the standard. You stop settling for average because average no longer feels comfortable. Your expectations rise, your vision expands, your confidence grows. It's also important to contribute value in return. Don't just look to gain, look to give. High achievers respect people who take action, who show up with integrity, and who lead themselves well. Be that person, be curious, be coachable, be humble but hungry. When you bring that energy into a room of achievers, you attract mentorship, support, and collaboration. And those connections can change the entire trajectory of your life. Sometimes, making this shift requires hard decisions. You may have to step back from people who constantly complain, gossip, or ridicule ambition, not because they're bad people, but because they're not aligned with where you're going. You don't rise by dragging others with you. You rise by walking your path and letting your progress speak for itself. And often, your growth will inspire others to start their own journey. Over time, you'll notice a shift in your identity. When you're consistently around people who expect more, do more, and believe more, you start to mirror that energy. You begin to think differently, speak differently, and act differently. Your goals get bigger, your mindset gets stronger. Your tolerance for excuses disappears. You no longer need external motivation because your environment is filled with it. You're no longer trying to succeed. You're simply aligning with a standard that's already been set around you. The fastest way to transform your life is to transform your circle, not by seeking approval, but by seeking alignment. Surround yourself with people who talk about visions, not just problems. People who act on ideas, not just talk about them. People who live with intention, not just routine. When you do that, success stops being a far-off dream and starts becoming the air you breathe. Talking to yourself like a champion is not just a motivational cliché. It's a mental strategy rooted in neuroscience and performance psychology. The way you speak to yourself shapes your identity, influences your emotions, and determines how you respond to challenges. Your inner dialogue is the most consistent voice you will ever hear in your life. If that voice is filled with doubt, fear, criticism, and defeat, it becomes almost impossible to build the confidence and resilience required for success. But if that voice is strong, positive, focused, and empowering, it becomes a guiding force that fuels your momentum, especially when the external world offers no validation. Self-talk is not just about repeating positive affirmations. It's about consciously choosing a narrative that supports your growth instead of sabotaging it. Every time you face a setback, a challenge, or even a small task, your mind begins narrating a story. That story can either push you forward or pull you back. Champions deliberately choose the story that pushes them forward. They don't allow their internal voice to become their biggest enemy. They train it to be their most loyal coach. When you talk to yourself like a champion, you affirm your capability before the world sees it. You tell yourself, "I've got this," even when part of you is scared. You remind yourself, "I've done hard things before. I can do this too." You don't wait to feel confident. You speak confidence into your system. And with repetition, your subconscious starts to accept that narrative as truth, because the brain responds to repetition, not reality. If you tell yourself you're a failure long enough, you'll behave like one. But if you tell yourself daily that you're disciplined, capable, focused, and unstoppable, your behavior will begin to reflect those beliefs. Self-talk isn't about lying to yourself or denying your struggles. It's about reframing those struggles with strength. Instead of saying, "This is too hard," say, "This is my chance to grow." Instead of saying, "I always mess up," say, "I'm learning and every mistake makes me stronger." This shift doesn't make problems disappear, but it gives you a mindset that's built to face them head on. That's the essence of a champion's mindset, facing reality, but refusing to be defeated by it. Your internal language also affects your energy and physiology. If you walk into a room saying to yourself, "I don't belong here," your body slouches, your voice weakens, and your confidence evaporates. But if you walk in saying, "I earned my seat," "I bring value," your shoulders rise, your eye contact strengthens, and your energy commands respect. The words you choose internally create the signals your body follows externally. That's why champions don't just train their bodies, they train their language. Every word matters. To begin mastering this, become aware of your default self-talk patterns. Notice what you say to yourself in the morning, before a big task, after a mistake, or during a tough moment. Write those thoughts down if you need to. Then ask, "Would I say this to someone I care about?" If the answer is no, why say it to yourself? Replace the criticism with coaching. Replace the doubt with direction. Be the voice that guides you, not the one that destroys you. Another powerful tool is creating personal mantras, short, powerful phrases that you repeat daily to wire in the mindset you want. It could be as simple as, "I am focused," "I create results," or "Nothing can stop me." Repetition is key. Say it during your morning routine, before work, at the gym, during stress. Over time, these mantras become mental triggers that pull you back into alignment when life tries to shake you off course. Don't underestimate the power of celebrating yourself through self-talk. When you complete a task, acknowledge it. When you stay disciplined, applaud it. When you resist temptation, praise it. This positive reinforcement builds trust between you and yourself. You start to see yourself as someone who follows through. That inner trust is the foundation of confidence, and confidence is the fuel of champions. You may not control everything in your external world. People will doubt you. Challenges will test you. Outcomes will vary, but your inner voice, that's yours to shape. And when you make it powerful, positive, and purposeful, it becomes your secret weapon. While others wait for motivation or validation, you create it from within. You show up, speak up, and rise up because the voice in your head doesn't whisper fear, it roars belief. In the end, talking to yourself like a champion is about alignment. It's aligning your language with your vision, your identity with your goals, and your thoughts with your greatness. It's deciding every single day that you will no longer be the person who tears yourself down, but the person who lifts yourself higher, word by word, thought by thought, until success becomes inevitable.